Jocko pilots the small, sleek craft through the interdimensional void, the interior of the ship vibrating with the hum of exotic machinery that has finally conquered the barrier between realities. Bulma sits nearby, her face flushed with a mixture of motion sickness and triumph, as the space-time bank confirms their successful arrival in Universe 6. She sharply jabs Jocko in the ribs, her voice echoing through the cramped cabin as she berates his clumsy navigation. Yet her eyes sparkle with the scientific thrill of the Galactic Patrol's historic voyage into a foreign cosmos. Outside the viewport, the stars of an unfamiliar galaxy blur into streaks of light, signaling their final approach to the legendary planet Sadala. Across the vast reaches of the multiverse in Universe 11, a heavy silence hangs over a desolate alien landscape where Margarita stands before her charge. The angel explains with cool, detached precision that Belmod has served as a deity for over 3,000 years, and the time for his divine reign is finally drawing to an end. Top stands rigid, listening to the weight of the angel's words, while Jiren and Dispo remain nearby as silent witnesses to the sunset of a long and destructive era. Belmod looks at his companions with a rare flicker of respect, acknowledging his own mortality and the uncertainty of what lies beyond his current godly status. Margarita raises her ornate staff, tapping it against the hard ground to initiate a sacred and ancient ceremony that causes two massive, intimidating monuments to rise from the earth. A thick, radiant Kai begins to swirl around the ritual site, glowing with a purple brilliance that illuminates the stoic faces of the gathered Pride Troopers. Top steps forward into the center of the vortex, his heart pounding against his chest as the raw essence of destruction begins to seek a new, worthy vessel. The air grows heavy with the pressure of the divine energy, making every breath a struggle for those nearby as the power prepares to find its new home. High above the ceremony, a streak of fire tears through the darkened sky, drawing the immediate attention of the elite warriors below. Dispo narrows his eyes, his muscles tensing as he prepares to move, while Jiren remains as still as a statue, observing the falling object with an unreadable and intense gaze. With a burst of speed, Dispo skids across the rocky terrain to investigate the impact site, his heart racing with the suspicion that an uninvited guest has breached their sanctuary during this vulnerable moment. He finds a crater smoldering in the dirt, the smoke clearing to reveal a figure that should not be here, casting a shadow of doubt over the security of their world. Back at the ritual site, the swirling energy reaches a violent crescendo before suddenly snapping into a terrifying absolute stillness. The transfer of power is complete, but it has come at a horrific cost that leaves the onlookers paralyzed with a sense of profound loss. Top has undergone a divine metamorphosis and has now become God of Destruction. Top. Beside him, the once vibrant deity has been drained of his very life force, leaving Belmod as nothing more than a withered, hollow husk upon the ground. God of Destruction Top falls to his knees, his hands slamming into the dirt as a primal scream of grief erupts from his throat, mourning the mentor he has inadvertently destroyed to gain his new title. The emotional turmoil is interrupted as Dispo returns, followed closely by the unexpected visitor who has trekked across the dimensions to seek their aid. God of Destruction Top slowly raises his head, his eyes burning with a newfound terrifying intensity as he directs his initial fury toward the newcomer, Gohan. The atmosphere is suffocating, charged with the volatile energy of a grieving god, as Gohan stands his ground despite the overwhelming pressure radiating from the Pride Trooper. God of Destruction Top acknowledges that time is a luxury they no longer possess, his voice booming with the weight of his new office as he prepares to address the crisis at hand. On the rugged surface of planet Sadala in Universe 6, the air is thick with the scent of ozone and kicked-up dust following a brief, one-sided skirmish. Caulifla stands over her fallen subordinates, her face contorted in a snarl of pure rage as she demands to know why the intruder has attacked her people. Kaba and Kale stand behind her, their expressions a mix of confusion and mounting dread as they realize a powerful warrior from Universe 7 has arrived. Vegeta stands amidst the chaos, his arms crossed and his expression utterly unimpressed by the amateurish and undisciplined display of the local Saiyans. Vegeta looks at Caulifla with cold, piercing eyes, his voice cutting through her shouting as he commands her to stop her childish and unproductive tantrums. He demands an immediate audience with their king, his patience wearing thin as the fate of multiple universes hangs in the balance of the coming war. Kaba desperately tries to restrain the fuming Caulifla, his hands trembling as he struggles to hold back her wild, unrefined energy. Vegeta notes to himself that the girl behaves more like a rabid animal than a true Saiyan warrior, his disdain for her lack of control evident in every line of his posture. Realizing that words will not move the stubborn girl, the Prince of Saiyans decides to demonstrate the massive gap in their power. Vegeta transforms into Super Saiyan Vegeta. The surrounding area erupts in a blinding golden light as Super Saiyan Vegeta lunges forward with a speed that defies the naked eye. Before Caulifla can even react, Super Saiyan Vegeta delivers a staggering kick that sends her body ricocheting off the hard ground like a discarded toy. Super Saiyan Vegeta turns his back on the fallen girl, his golden aura flickering with heat as he barks a final order for the others to lead him to the palace. The group boards a futuristic vessel piloted by a man named Sprouts, soaring over the vast, rugged landscapes of the Saiyan homeworld. Super Saiyan Vegeta stands at the prow of the ship, his golden hair shimmering in the wind as he gazes down at the magnificent palace of King Sadala below. The structure is a breathtaking fusion of ancient architectural layers and high-tech weaponry, a testament to what his own race might have achieved had they not been eradicated. Despite the awkward tension in the cabin, Super Saiyan Vegeta maintains a stoic silence, his mind already calculating the strength of the monarch he is about to meet. Elsewhere in Universe 6, a dark and sweltering planet serves as the backdrop for a high-stakes game of cat and mouse between two deadly foes. Frost is drenched in sweat, his lungs burning from the oppressive heat as he attempts to evade a predator he cannot hope to outrun. Suddenly, the world around him freezes in a flash of purple energy as Hit executes a precise time skip to close the distance. Hit's hand is at the demon's throat in an instant, his voice cold and devoid of mercy, as he demands to know who hired Frost to follow him. Frost trembles, his previous arrogance replaced by a desperate plea for his life, as he realizes the legendary assassin is not a man to be trifled with. At the heart of the royal palace, the golden energy of the transformation begins to dissipate as the prince prepares for his formal audience. Super Saiyan Vegeta returns to his normal state, becoming Base Vegeta. A nervous messenger rushes into the throne room, stuttering as he informs the monarch of the powerful stranger who has arrived from another universe to request an audience. King Sadala stands from his throne, his massive, towering frame casting a long shadow over his subjects as he grants the stranger entrance. Vegeta steps into the hall, his eyes meeting those of the king, and as the two Saiyan leaders introduce themselves, the very air in the room seems to vibrate with the collision of two different legacies. The atmosphere on planet Sadala is heavy with anticipation as the Saiyan army assembles under a violet sky, the rugged landscape echoing with the rhythmic clatter of armor. King Sadala stands before his warriors on a raised dais, his voice booming with a gravity that reflects the weight of the Grand Priest's recent and terrifying announcement regarding the Universal Order. He declares with a solemn pride that the era of peace they have fought to maintain is unfortunately over, and they must now prepare to defend their reality against those who seek to foment revolt. To his side stands Vegeta, whom King Sadala introduces to the masses as the heir to their neighboring universe, a seasoned warrior who will fight hand in hand with them. The assembled crowd pulses with a volatile mix of shock and newfound determination as they raise their fists toward the heavens, accepting the challenge to fight for their own survival and glory. High above the sprawling central metropolis, the polished silver hull of a galactic patrol ship pierces the clouds, finally ending a grueling 48-hour journey through the cosmos. Jocko operates the complex flight controls with an air of smug satisfaction, declaring the inter-universal expedition a complete success as the ship's hatch hisses open to the dry air of Sadala. Behind him, the interior of the vessel is a scene of utter physical and emotional despair, as Limo, Chilai, and Bulma stumble toward the exit with sunken eyes and pale complexions. They are mentally drained, having been forced to survive on the charred, hairy remains of a giant spider-like creature that Broly captured on a whim for food. The lingering, metallic stench of the alien roast still clings to the cabin walls, a traumatic memory that sends shivers of pure disgust through everyone except the legendary giant himself. Stepping onto the alien soil, Jocko immediately focuses on the logistical task at hand, retrieving a high-tech facial recognition drone from his utility pouch with a flourish. The small, orb-like robot whirs into the air, its advanced sensors scanning the thousands of Saiyan faces below with a clinical and cold precision. While the machine performs its automated sweep, Broly looks around the foreign landscape with a primal hunger, his eyes searching the local stalls for Modani legs, the tick-like creatures he finds so delicious back on planet Vampa. The group eventually approaches a local food stand where the chef offers a meager selection of kebabs, his expression hardening into a glare as the outsiders examine the pictures on his menu with confusion. Broly is genuinely perplexed by the nuclear lack of variety, his innocent questions clashing with the chef's growing irritation at what the cook perceives as a lack of literacy or basic counting skills. Suddenly, the drone's interface flashes green as its optical sensors lock onto a familiar sharp scowl among the distant training grounds. Vegeta. The robot attempts to establish an immediate audio contact, but the Prince of Saiyans responds with a sharp, explosive burst of energy that reduces the expensive galactic patrol machinery to smoldering scrap metal in an instant. Back at the kebab stand, Jocko freezes as the signal cuts out, the realization of the robot's immense cost hitting him harder than any physical blow. He slams his receiver onto the wooden table in a fit of frantic, high-pitched despair, calculating the massive deduction that will soon disappear from his already meager salary. Bulma loses her patience with the patrolman's hysterics, her voice echoing through the market as she commandingly tells him to stop whining and find her husband on foot like a real officer. Miles away on the tranquil plains of Earth, the setting sun casts long, orange shadows over the training grounds outside the home of Gohan. Piccolo stands tall and immobile, his arms crossed over his chest as he prepares to bid his former pupil a solemn goodbye before the younger man departs for his mission with the Pride Troopers. The Namekian's voice is steady and full of deep-seated respect as he shakes hands with Gohan, urging the young scholar to train with an intensity that matches the coming threat. The evening air is still and silent, save for the gentle rustle of nearby trees, as Piccolo glances toward the house and suggests that it might finally be time for Pan to begin her own journey into the world of meditation and combat. The calm of the evening is shattered when Videl appears at the doorway, her eyes flashing with a protective fire that rivals the fiercest of warriors. She rejects the idea of her young daughter entering such a dangerous and violent life with a sharpness that leaves Piccolo momentarily stunned, reminding him that the days of 4-year-olds being abandoned in the wilderness are long gone. Dejected by her fierce reaction, the Namekian mentor takes his leave, his silhouette disappearing into the growing twilight as he respects the mother's firm and final decision. Inside the home, Gohan watches the exchange with a mixture of awe and nostalgia, seeing a vivid reflection of his own mother's iron will and his wife's stance. Videl turns toward him with a proud smirk and tells him to prepare for their own departure, to join Bulma and Vegeta on the distant world of Sadala. Later that night, the house falls into a quiet, suburban hush, but inside her bedroom, Pan is wide awake, her eyes darting across the colorful pages of a book hidden beneath her covers. A soft, deliberate tap at her door sends the girl into a frantic scramble, clicking off the lamp and feigning a deep, rhythmic snore as the door creaks open on its hinges. Gohan steps into the dimly lit room, a gentle and knowing smile playing on his lips as he spots the discarded book on the hardwood floor and calls out his daughter's terrible acting. He sits on the edge of the bed, the mattress sinking slightly under his weight, as the little girl sits up with a sheepish apology for staying up well past her bedtime. The small room is bathed in the soft blue glow of the moonlight as Gohan takes the hands of Pan, his expression becoming solemn and focused. He speaks to her with a profound, fatherly earnestness, explaining that people in the world will always try to force their own expectations and visions upon her, but she must always follow what her own heart dictates. He assures her that because she is so pure of heart, he is certain she will never truly hurt anyone, a life lesson he hopes will guide her through the uncertain and dangerous future ahead. Much of the gravity of his words is lost on the child, who looks at him with big, confused eyes and asks why he is using such weird words tonight. Gohan realizes she is still just a toddler, and he leans down to press a soft kiss to her forehead, wishing her a peaceful and dreamless sleep. Back on the dusty surface of Sadala, the grit kicked up by the training Saiyan army coats the air in a fine gray powder that irritates the eyes. Jocko finally marches up to Vegeta, his face flushed with a mixture of exhaustion and anger as he demands an explanation for the reckless destruction of his high-tech scout drone. The Saiyan prince doesn't even grant the patrolman a glance, his gaze fixed firmly on the horizon as he dismisses the complaints with a sharp, guttural snarl of utter indifference. He is momentarily surprised, however, when Jocko reveals that he has traveled for 2 days to bring Bulma and a group of scoundrels across the universe to meet him. Vegeta finally acknowledges that this arrival was a key part of the broader strategic plan he had discussed with his wife earlier. The two distinct groups finally converge near the outskirts of the central city, the tension between the Universe 6 natives and the Universe 7 travelers crackling like static electricity. Caulifla crosses her arms over her chest, her defiant posture radiating a mix of boredom and deep skepticism as she sizes up the newcomers with a narrow-eyed glare. Bulma greets the group with a radiant, confident smile that contrasts sharply with the rugged environment, but the atmosphere sours instantly when Vegeta refers to the local Saiyans as disgusting individuals. Caulifla takes immediate and vocal offense, her face reddening with fury as she complains about the insult, while Kaba tries to play the diplomat, greeting Bulma with the stuttering respect he feels is due to the prince's wife. Feeling the intense heat of the awkward encounter and wanting to avoid any further conflict, Kaba looks at his bare wrist in a staged panic, claiming he has urgent business to attend to elsewhere. Vegeta watches the young warrior with a cold, piercing stare, muttering to the air that only cowards would try to run away from such an important meeting. Kale, usually the most reserved and timid of the trio, feels the crushing weight of the prince's judgment and considers following Kaba, but she is stopped by a sharp command from Bulma. The blue-haired scientist insists with a bubbly but firm attitude that they need a guide to navigate the complexities of this planet, and that running away now would be an inconvenience they cannot afford. As the various groups settle into an uneasy and forced alliance, the air suddenly shifts and grows heavy when Kale turns her head and locks eyes with Broly. A silent, heavy recognition passes between them, two beings of immense, untapped potential standing face to face in the long shadow of the looming universal war. The surrounding city of Sadala hums with the distant sound of a civilization preparing for the unthinkable, the streets filled with warriors who have no idea how their lives are about to change. With the legendary giant now standing among the warriors of Universe 6, the path forward for Vegeta, Kaba, and the others is fraught with extreme peril, but the convergence of these two mighty universes has finally begun in earnest.